When I graduated from college, I got my degree in computer systems engineering. I started work at Bell Labs. They sent me to get a master's degree, so I got a master's degree in electrical engineering. And then a couple of years working for Bell Labs, and I quit because I kind of got tired of the engineering environment. And I was unemployed for about 4 or 5 months. And during that time, I would sort of look at the want ads in the Chicago Tribune on Sunday to see if there were any good engineering jobs that I might be interested in. And one day I saw a want ad or a classified ad for video game programmers. Gottlieb Amusement Games was looking for video game programmers, and I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. I was like, well, I got to do it. I had sort of made a pledge not to go back to engineering. When I left Bell Labs, I was like, I'm not going to be an engineer anymore. But when I saw that, I was like, yeah, maybe I could. Qbert came about because I was hired by Gottlieb to do games, and I had been working as a sort of a support programmer on another game that did not get released. And when that project was scrapped, I had nothing to do. And the culture at Gottlieb at the time was that the programmers were the designers. The programmers were expected to come up with game ideas and program those ideas. They weren't handed out, they weren't assigned. We were all expected to experiment because really at the time nobody knew, especially people in management, didn't know what a video game was. They didn't know what a successful video game was, and they thought, well, let's just let these guys who know how to program do their thing. So I was left with nothing to do, and I was walking by. We were all in one big room. It was very much of a think tank environment. And I was walking by and I looked at somebody else's screen. There was a programmer named Kan Yabamoto who went on to do Mad Planets, if you've ever heard of that game. But at the time he was experimenting with foreground and background. We had our hardware allowed you to have a foreground plane and a background plane, and he was like swapping them so the background was in front, and you know, if you removed pieces of the background you could reveal what was going on in the foreground behind it. And the image that he had in the front was an Escher pattern that looked like just a bunch of cubes filling the screen. And when I looked at that, I kind of saw in my own mind a pyramid, that it would form a pyramid. And the reason I thought of that was because I thought, you know, if you have a ball that's dropping and hitting that top cube, it would have a choice of one of 2 directions to move. So by programming that, I could learn how to program gravity, and I could learn how to program randomness. So for me, it was just a programming exercise. So I asked the artist to make a pyramid for me and give me a ball to drop, and that's exactly what I did. I programmed a ball bouncing down the pyramid, randomly deciding whether to go left or right on each bounce. And then it was, okay, now I did that. What's next? Well, the next step was, well, and the other thing I should say is that people who saw it would look at it and go, that's cool. So when people say that's cool, you're kind of thinking, all right, well, what can I do with that now? And I thought, all right, well, let's put a player character and have him, you know, traverse this pyramid. That was the next step. So I went to Jeff Lee, the artist we had, and I said, well, do you have any player characters? Do you have any characters lying around that I could use? And he did. He had a bunch of characters and he showed them to me, and I was like, all right, well, let me use this character. And he said, well, yeah, I was thinking that this guy would shoot stuff out of his nose. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not really interested in that, but, you know, so I took that character and I had him jumping around the pyramid, and it just went from there. So it was very much of an evolutionary game. It wasn't like, you know, here's the game design for Qbert. It was really me just learning how to program, and every time I got to a step where I was like, okay, I don't know what to do next, we figured out what to do next, and it totally evolved from there.